Hello everyone, my name is Matt Scorpion and welcome on how to complete the new Expunge mission known as STYX. Now, the opening sequence is the same as the last one, it's only until you hit that teleportal at the very end that it changes, but if you don't know how to get through this opening part, I'll just let it play through just so you can see. Now, there is some ways to die, there is an occasional bump or two that might be a little bit challenging, but do not feel bad if you fail this, as none of this is a reset. You can make it through as many times and die as many times as you need to get through. So if this at all is challenging, don't worry. Now, I will say this is my entire first run through. It includes all my blunders and all my failures, so you can see exactly what not to do in a lot of these scenarios, like jumping there for no reason, because I had no idea why I jumped there.
The Vex have enacted a purge sweep of the domain. We should stay ahead of it.
Now here is where things start to get a little bit different. As you'll notice a little crystal oracle right there, you'll want to keep an eye on those because that is the main mechanic for this one. Once you break it, it'll drop a charge-like thing once you actually get out of these holes, if you somehow don't fall through the floor. Once you break it, you will make a charge that has a deteriorating timeline that can be saved with checkpoints. Now this first time you don't have to worry about the timer if you actually can make it fast enough. You can just run past all of these enemies, jump over these barriers, and it shouldn't be any problem. You'll make note of those little oracle thingies that I just passed by. Those will be needed for later, but now you don't. Now, this one is one where it definitely comes into play, as there are some walls that'll block your progress. And as you see, when I consumed it, it extended my timer in the bottom left, and I am at least making checkpoints for them, even if they aren't extending. You must keep in mind, because these are the checkpoints you'll need to worry about to continue forward, because there are some places that you won't be able to make it on single charge. So be sure to pass through these as you pass by. I do not believe there's any triumphs related, but make sure you plant in those various places to make sure you keep up. Now, that was the first of the three you need to access the boss, and it is pretty much the easiest. From this point, you'll either take the left or right. I believe the left is the easier one to start with. Now, you must maintain as well, you don't really need to kill everything. It is not really a kill required, but careful of the lasers, as they definitely hurt way more than you would expect. Now, if you've upgraded the Splicer Gauntlet enough, there should at least be some man cannons here to at least launch you a decent portion of the way that you can also use on the way back. I believe there would also be some for the next area, but I'm not sure yet because I don't have mine upgraded. Now, to continue on, you don't need to kill all of these or even the barrier champion. What you need to take note of is a glowing harpy in the back there, in the direction I'm shooting now, which will have the essential access code, but you do need to take care of some of the ads at least to spawn it. Now, this glowing harpy right here is the one you'll want to make sure to kill, because once you kill it, it will drop the shield, and you can break this oracle crystal that will allow you to get your hands on the authentication key. Now, like I said before, you'll want to make note and actually carry on, but avoid the suicide harpies, because when they actually hit you, when you have one of these keys, it will insta-delete it, and you must go back and get it. Now this time I still had not noticed about the timer, and I did not know about the oracles being checkpoints per se, so I was ignoring it, but I am letting you know, make use of the checkpoints, because otherwise it's a lot more difficult than it needs to be. Now the third path after you plant that authentication key is directly across from where you just came from, and this involves a little bit more lasers, a little bit more jumping, and is probably the more difficult of the 3 paths and the 3 keys, but it is totally manageable solo or with a fire team. This one takes into account a little bit more of disappearing paths, and a note to mention as well, the suicide harpies when you don't have the key will detain you. But it is worse when you do have the key because it just straight up deletes it. And there will be a lot more along the entire path as you go by. Initially, you can ignore them because there is a main cannon to get over, but I did not initially find one to get back. Now, this is probably one of the tougher of the areas just because it spawns 2 Cyclopses and a bunch of ads, but if you have enough ammo and at least maybe a heavy weapon of a rocket variety, they shouldn't be too much of a problem. Now, as the Harpy has just spawned, it will stay here for most of its time. If you don't manage to kill it quick enough, it might actually dart away, as you see it just about to happen right now. But it's not exactly in an immune phase, it just got to where it should have been, I suppose, at that time. It's not incredibly far, though, as it is just a layer below. Once it dies again, you'll have access to the Oracle Crystal, and you can ignore the Barrier Harpy or blow it up, as ever you prefer. But once you kill it, this is where the blunders really start to happen, because the oracles are a little bit more spaced out, and there's a lot more suicide harpies on the way back that will just insta-delete it. And thus I finally took notice of the oracle dots, and now I know, personally, that they are checkpoints and extenders, so keep in mind you'll want to be using these the entire time if you're so unsure about your jump abilities or how far you really have left to go. Keep a good mental note, like I said before, these lasers actually do hurt more than you think. And even if you think you made it, on a few occasions, the server being slow will actually screw you over. And once you finally beat the laser grid, you will be able to place the last authentication key, which will bring down these Cyclops shields. I would recommend you don't do what I do. And as soon as I know it's vulnerable, super it, because I don't think that nearly did as much damage as it's supposed to, considering a Vorpal weapon Hezen Vengeance did more damage than a Falling Star Thunder Crash. Now, the immune phase is a lot simple as before. Same mechanic, authentication key, a deposit, and oracle loops. But it is a lot shorter. It's basically just across the arena, and I don't think there's any real big issues. Just because there's a few laser grids, but you can easily jump over them. And even if you have the green platform code to upgrade, you can spawn a few things to go around. Unfortunately, I just didn't notice that. But at least a few rockets later, in a well-developed build or just a few good weapons, the Cyclops will die. And you had completed the new Expunge, STYX. My name is Matt Scorpion, and thank you for watching.